Straight Shift with the Car Chick, the podcast that's all about cars, buying, selling, fixing, and driving, and sometimes pretty fast if you're the car chick. Now, here she is.
Welcome, everyone, to the Straight Shift. I wanted to do something fun today. A lot of you know from my blog that I have redesigned my office this summer, and I had a wonderful interior designer help me out and keep me on track with that. And it got me thinking again about the colors that we choose for cars and what do those colors mean? There's a psychology behind color, and when you pick a color for a car, it means something. And I did a video on this a couple of years ago, but I really wanted to kind of look at, is there a science behind this? And lo and behold, there is. And so I have invited my interior designer, Stacey from Anderson-Cohen Designs. And she is here in studio with me because as a designer, Stacey, you know a lot about color. You helped me pick the color for my office walls. Let me tell you, you and Laura freaking nailed it.
Thank you. We're glad you liked it.
I love it. In case anybody's wondering, it's called City Loft, and it is a very, very, very almost white, but pale, warm gray.
Can I tell a little story about that color?
Yeah, please.
About just how we picked it out, and you said I probably won't be able to get to it till next week. And by the time we left your house and we're home, we got an email saying I've already picked it up. And actually, I think I saw on Facebook that you had already had one wall painted. So you were very ready to go client.
I think the term you're looking for is OCD. I tend to get a little motivated when I'm in the middle of a project. So.
You were the most organized client we've ever had. Spreadsheets galore, floor plans, measurements.
My builder, years ago when I built a custom home with my now ex-husband, our builder said the same thing, because between him being an engineer, I have like this little certificate degree in interior design, which means I just know enough to be dangerous. Between that and both of us being project managers, yeah, we like showed up with our laptop and a project plan, and he said the exact same thing. So
made our job very easy.
Well, I still appreciate the help, because little did I know that there are 4,000 shades of gray.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's crazy. And, in one of the things I ask my clients on the questionnaire when we're going through the perfect car process to help them pick the right car is, what are the colors that you like, and what would be your, first, second, third choice of colors? And car colors, there's a lot of different colors of cars. And, sometimes like with the Highline cars, like your Audi and your Mercedes, Audi has like 4 different shades of silver. It's crazy. So, color, I know in your world in design is way more complicated, because there literally are, tens of thousands?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think there's an infinite number.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a very overwhelming thing to me. And so, you guys, I mean, literally, you just like nailed it, narrowed it down so fast, and we're like, okay, it's going to be one of these 3. Boom. I went out and bought samples of each, stuck them on the wall. I'm like, yep, I like that one best. And then I had it painted. So I just wanted to talk today a little bit about what is the psychology behind each of at least the major color groups from your standpoint, from what you've learned in the psychology of color and interior design. And we'll just see if we can apply that to what it means when you pick that color for your car.
Right. Okay.
Well, let's start, the basics in cars. Probably, throughout history, the basic, most popular colors have been your black, white, silver. Mm-hmm. When Henry Ford brought out the Model A, back at the turn of the century, he said you can get it in any color you want as long as it's black. And I think at the time that was part of it was, kind of the sophistication of the black. Not everybody could afford one. And I have a feeling it was also like the only color that they could produce reliably back at the turn of the century. But now, do people use black in interior design?
They do. And actually, Benjamin Moore just came out with their color of the year, and Pantone, which is the color god, if you will, like they announced their color in December.
Pantone is the god of color.
Yes. But they announced it in December, but they've let out the palettes, and they're really promoting two of them. One's Cravings and one is Classico. And Classico is black. Like it's got the blacks and the dark grays and the dark teals.
Oh,
So
wow.
you look for that coming up in 2019. I think you'll see a lot of that in interiors as well.
Where would you use a black in interior design? I can see it like on furniture and things like that, but we're talking about a paint color, right?
Yes.
You can put
Well,
this on
and
a
then they
wall?
considered that in cabinets.
Oh.
And then again, like you said, that there's so many shades of gray, there are so many shades of black. And so
My
people will
wardrobe will
paint.
attest to
Yeah.
that.
People will use black on the walls. Sometimes it's to highlight a space, or if it's large to make it smaller, or even if a small room, sometimes you want to make it feel cozy.
Wow. Well, black, in cars, obviously, your Highline cars, it means sophisticated. It's kind of the power color, just like the
Exactly.
power suit. One of my clients a couple of years ago, she is an attorney. Her name is Brandy. So I'm just going to give a shout out to, Milazzo Webb Law Firm. They're great. Brandy Milazzo is awesome. And she was looking for a new car, a grown-up car finally. And of course, all of her male lawyer friends were telling her, "Oh, well, you have to get a black BMW. You're a lawyer." And Brandy left her big law firm and started her own firm with some other female partners because she wanted to be different. And we were looking at a Mercedes for her, and she had gone in. This was around the holidays, and she went into the dealership, and they had a red one right in the showroom. And she had always wanted a red car. And she came back to me and she's like, "Oh, they had a red one. It was so beautiful, but I can't get a red car. I'm an attorney. I have to have a black car." And I said, "Brandy, you have worked your butt off and you have stepped out of, this male dominated traditional law firm to start your own. You're a badass. You can have whatever freaking color car you want. Get the red car." And my husband, I had told him this, and the commercials that come out around the holidays with Santa Claus,
Yeah.
and the white Mercedes are going out to speak on
Right.
his nice list, and the red ones on the naughty list. I told my husband the story, and he looked at me and says, "Oh, she must be on the naughty list."
See, that's not what came to mind for me.
So what came to mind for you? We're talking about a red car.
Red is the symbol of power.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's action, passionate. Think about, like even your heart, blood's red.
Well, yeah.
So it's, I mean, Valentine, passion, red. Target, Coca-Cola, like it's just the take action color. So I think it would be great for an attorney to have a red Mercedes.
Oh, I'm going to make sure Brandy knows you said that. Well, that explains why red is such a popular color for sports cars.
Right.
And why, there's kind of a myth out there that red cars get targeted more by the police for getting pulled over.
I've always thought that.
Well, I have a theory about that. And for me, I don't think the police target red cars and just pull them over randomly more than they pull over any other color car. I think it's that people who choose to drive a red car tend to have driving behaviors that are more likely to get their butts pulled over.
And that is probably more accurate.
What color do you think my Porsche was when I had it? And my Mustang, two Mustang convertibles that I've owned. So yeah, like every sports car pretty much that I've owned has been red. And yes, I got pulled over a lot.
And look at you. Like, I mean, you exude red.
Well, that's why, hot pink is my power color,
right,
in my brand. And, obviously, you've seen my car. You know that Maggie has the hot pink all
Gotta
over her.
love, yes.
But I did temper it with the dark gray.
Right.
So.
But pink is just it's like a small lower tone of red.
Right, exactly.
So
and hot pink is like barely a lower tone.
Exactly. So so you're staying true to who you are.
And I have found that my taste in colors has gotten, a little more, I hope, I'm going to use the word sophisticated, hoping that that's really true. I'd like to think it's more sophisticated as I've gotten older. I bought that Porsche for my 30th birthday,
right?
When I had what I call my first midlife crisis. And I love the brighter colors and stuff back then, and now I find myself going towards the more sophisticated colors, the muted grays. For me, dark gray, if I had to pick a color that I think looks good on probably 95% of the cars out there, it's dark gray. And that's
Right.
the base for Maggie's wrap. It's the dark gray with the hot pink, which is my branding colors.
Right.
And, whereas before it's like, if you asked me what color car I want, I mean, red would have been just, I would have got red. I told you I'm going to have a red car. No matter what it is, it's going to be a red car. And I think I've grown out of that a little bit as I've gotten older. But I also think that dark gray, because it's not black. I mean, anybody can pick black.
Right.
And look in my closet.
Right.
You'll see why. It makes you look thinner. But to me, the dark gray says kind of badass.
See, well, in interiors, gray is more in the neutral family.
Right.
So calm, sophisticated. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, a deep, dark, maybe I'm just getting it from like the color of, aircraft carriers and battleships or something.
I see where you're going with
especially
this.
Especially with the metallics in it. And that's the fun thing about car paints right now is that the technology's gotten so amazing that there's depth. There's these metallic flecks that catch the sunlight and almost make them look different colors and different lights. It's not just the boring flat paints that we had, even just in the 90s and the early 2000s. There's some really pretty colors, and I love it when they have that magnetic fleck under there. But to what you were saying earlier about things kind of we were talking probably before we turned the microphones on, we were talking about how things are moving back towards white.
Right.
And white and silver, they're really close running, but white is still the number one color for cars.
Right.
And I don't know when that started in interiors, but I'm blaming Apple for that. Because they have made white such a palette. Yeah,
they really have. So I know that in 2016, Sherwin-Williams color was white. You were asking when, or you were saying, when is the switch? Because everybody thinks right now gray is hot, and it still is. But like I had mentioned before about Benjamin Moore, their color is Metropolitan, which is like a white with a gray undertone.
Okay.
That's their color for 2019. But you're going to see in interiors, the shift is going away from the grays and into the whites on the walls.
Interesting, because it's so funny because I used to hate white. And I'm like, how boring. That's not a color.
Right.
But now I'm realizing, one of the reasons I did my office, in basically the almost white and with all the white furniture was that it's clean. It feels like when I'm in there, it just opens up the energy to creativity.
And that's what white does.
Yeah.
That's exactly. I mean, white for an office is perfect.
And that's, when you're talking about the psychology of color for cars too, white kind of means when you have a white car, it means you have good taste. It doesn't mean that, you're boring and you just bought whatever was on the lot because they had a bunch of white ones.
Right.
Now that could be the case. Not everyone drives the color car they would ultimately like to drive. Sometimes they drive it because it was on the lot and they got a good deal on it. But, white does say that you kind of strive for perfection with that clean. Keeping your white car clean is not easy.
Exactly. Which is why I went with black. That and the sophistication. If I had to drive a minivan with 4 kids, I was like, well, at least I'm getting black.
I call that the Darth Vader minivan.
Yeah. I'm ready for her to go. Those days are done. I swore I would never have one, but I did.
There we go. Well, the next time we need a new car for you, we'll figure out what your favorite color is.
Yes, and you will hook me up.
But those neutral colors, the black, the white, the silver, the dark gray, those are always probably going to be your top colors. And those colors are always going to be in style in cars.
Right.
So from, a resale standpoint, if you're buying a car in one of those colors, it's a safe choice because you're not going to have to worry about that color, going out of style and then it affecting your resale value when you go to sell that car a few years down the line. I think that's, why they picked it up. And that's why the majority of your Highline cars, your BMWs and your Mercedes and your Audis come in those colors with maybe like one flashier color. And that's it. It's like, 2 different shades of black, 4 different shades of silver, 2 different shades of gray, and like 2 different shades of white.
Right. I mean, and even in interiors, when you said for resale value, so
Oh, in your house too, like wall colors.
Right.
That makes
So
sense.
we do staging for
Help people sell their houses faster.
Yes. And that's exactly when we're doing a redesign project. We can get crazy with the color, but when we're in there for staging, we stick with the neutrals, the grays. That we don't do black, but not for staging. Again,
No,
that's a personal taste.
That's a little bold in an interior design choice.
Yeah. So, but the whites, the neutral grays, the browns, for staging for the same reason for the resale. And then you add your color in your accessories, like your linens, your bed linens, your pillows, the things that are going to go with you. But the foundation of the house should be pretty neutral.
And that makes sense. We have in interior design, we have a lot more options for adding color in. Whereas on a car, you pretty much have the exterior and the interior.
But you can, especially in the luxury cars, right? You've got your leather, you could get crazy with your interiors.
And usually the craziest they tend to get is with a red interior. Yeah, which can look really beautiful with a black car or a white car with then some black trim on it. I like doing the black wheels or, dark wheels, because that kind of grounds the car and it gives the a white car with black rims and maybe a red interior. That's a statement right there.
That is a statement.
Which is funny because you can get a Camry in that color, and whoever thought they'd make a statement in a Camry, the world's best rental car. But it doesn't tend to get too crazy. One of the things I've seen though in the last few years with car colors is they have been mixing like a silver or a gray exterior with like a basketball or football brown interior. I mean, what is that? Does that mean anything color-wise?
I don't know about that per se.
You're looking at me like that's weird. Kind of like I feel it's weird.
Well, no. Can I go back to color of the year though? Because the Sherwin-Williams announced theirs, and it's Cavern Clay, which is like a orangey. It reminds me of a desert, Aztec-y feel.
Oh, sure, kind of an Adobe-ish color.
Yeah.
Something you would
so
see in the
it's like a
desert.
dark orange, but they chose that to go with. You said grays.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about it in the earth, like.
That's true. I hadn't really thought about the earth mixing those colors. I guess Mother Earth has the right to mix whatever colors she chooses. But
I mean, gray is a neutral and brown is a neutral. So broaden your horizon.
I think I have to do that because I get very stuck in my ways of, if it's a silver car, it needs to be a gray or black interior. But
right.
They said that one of the reasons they did that is that it's a very masculine color combination. I'm like, oh yeah, of course the guys are going to love it. You put a nice neutral safe out exterior that's kind of futuristic, and then you put something in there that reminds them of football or basketball. They're happy.
Yeah. Has your husband never worn like a gray suit with brown shoes?
Okay, my husband is a mechanic, so no, he does not wear suits unless it's like we're going to a wedding or a funeral, and even then he tries to get out of it. So.
Well, just pretend you're in Nordstrom and you look at the mannequin, and if he's wearing a gray suit, he might have some brown shoes. It'll be okay.
All right, I'm going to stop picking on all the the BMWs that have the silver exterior and the brown interior. Okay, you've changed my mind. We're going to take a really quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the brighter colors. What is blue and green and heck, even yellow? What does that mean about your personality if you pick that for your car? We'll be right back.
Do you hate car shopping? Do you worry about being taken advantage of or about finding the right car at a fair price? Buying a car can be a frustrating and time-consuming experience. But what if you could get a great deal without having to do a ton of research, without having to haggle, and without the fear of buying a lemon? You can. As your personal car shopper, the Car Chick will help you pick the perfect car based on your unique lifestyle, budget, and personality. She'll handle all of the legwork and negotiating for you. All you have to do is sign the papers and take the keys. It's that easy. To learn how the Car Chick can save you time, money, and hassle on your next car purchase, give us a call at 888-575-2138. That's 888-575-2138. Or visit us on the web at thecarchick.com.
Ah, the Car Chick is back for more Straight Shift.
And we're back with the Straight Shift. I am talking with my friend and business sorority sister and my personal interior decorator, Stacey Cohen of Anderson-Cohen Designs. And we're talking about what does the color of your car say about your personality based on the psychology behind color? And we've talked about the neutral colors, your whites, your blacks, your silvers, the colors that are most popular for cars, always have been, always will be. Very safe choices to preserve your resale value. But some people like to make a little bit more of a bolder statement with your car. They think those colors are boring.
Right.
And I totally respect that. And there are some really bright, fun other colors out there, especially for cars. And one of the ones that I happen to really love, I like, my mom's favorite color is blue. It's always been blue.
And that's the most popular favorite color.
Is it really?
For interiors, yes.
I wonder if I'll have to do some research and see, just asking people in general what their favorite color is, if the most popular response is blue. It probably is.
Right.
Well, if you think about it, blue takes us to the ocean, to water, and that's a very, well, at least for some of us, that's like my happy place, other than the racetrack, which is a really happy place. But when I'm not racing, my other happy place is the beach, because or being on a cruise ship where I'm out on the ocean, I'm surrounded by water. It's so calming.
Right.
It's so serene. And so what does the psychology behind blue, what's up with that? Because
calming.
So I was right.
Calming, trustworthy, honest, loyal. That's why, police officers, which actually they're black now, but back in the day they were blue.
Right, blue, yeah.
And it supposedly slows your metabolism. So you'll see like,
I don't know that I want that
in kitchens and whatnot. But the very serene and calming. And that's why you'll see them in bathrooms and spas and all of that.
Doctors' offices sometimes.
Right.
If they're not boring and
it's supposed to calm the red that they see when they're operating.
Oh, to kind of counteract so they don't, so they don't get nauseous looking at your blood. There's so many different shades of blue too. And in cars, there, you can have your dark navies, which are almost black. The challenge that I find with the dark blue cars is, while they're a very popular choice for new cars, they tend to show more flaws once the car gets used, and you get the nicks and the chips and the scratches and stuff, because
even more than black.
More than black. And I think and this is just my theory. I have no science behind it to prove this, but this is just, car chick opinion. I think it's because, the black, it at least absorbs a lot of the light. Whereas the blue, I think the dark blue reflects just enough of it so that you can see those blemishes easier than you can on the black. Gotcha. For some reason, dark blue is one of the most popular colors when you buy a new car, but it's one of the least popular to buy used. So it has a higher depreciation for resale value than a black one.
And that's good to know too.
It is. But there's, there's navy blue cars. There's, really, for a while, there's some like a real pale sky blue, and that's still out there in the industry. But right now what I'm seeing, and I tell you, I love these. There is just this, what I call flaming electric metallic blue. Ford has it. Toyota has it, and they put it on like their Tacoma pickup truck. And it's like,
oh, wow.
Because of all the metallic flecks in it, it is so deep and so rich and has so many layers to it. It's like every time I see one, I absolutely fall in love with it. I don't know that I would buy one personally, but if it pulls up to me next to a stoplight, it makes me very happy to look at.
That whole, I have not seen that on the road.
Oh, you gotta
but
look for
that whole, the brain and the RAS, the reticular activating system, I have a feeling I'm going to leave here and see a bunch of electric blue cars, because I've not run into that lately. Since I was in college, my friend Ann had this blue Toyota Tercel, I think. Yeah. And it was the only one on the lot, I think, when her parents got it for her. And we laughed at that color, but it's back apparently.
It's back, and it's also so much prettier because, as I was saying before, the
metallics
technology is crazy what they can do with it. But yeah, so if you like bright blue cars, there are some blues out there that are just incredibly beautiful. And one color that kind of, the shade of it changes a lot throughout, the years of what's popular and what's not, is green.
Yes, I had a green, this is embarrassing, but my first minivan was a green Ford Windstar.
Ooh, so that was bad for so many reasons. It was that dark hunter green, right?
Yeah, like with an olive undertone, which all of this
Ooh.
green is coming back.
Oh yeah.
It's part of the Classico line that I was talking about at Benmore. They have like a hunter green, which reminds me so much of like late 80s, 90s. But it's funny. It's like when things come back, they come back a little bit different. And
I
it's
would
like
hope
you're
so.
falling in love with it all over again. Like
if the
I'm
70s and
crushing
80s
on
are
the
going to come back,
green.
I really want them to be different this time. Those were not some of our better fashion choices.
I still love me a flared bell-bottom jean. I'm sorry.
In hunter green.
Not in hunter green.
Well, I remember back in the decorating days, because that was, the early 90s is when I graduated from college, and I was getting my first house, and all my friends were, and we were doing that. They had all the jewel tones with the burgundies and the hunter greens, and we were all putting that in our dining room.
Right.
And I had a hunter green 90, I think it was a 96 or 97 Dodge Ram truck. It was very popular in kind of the mid to late 90s and even into the early 2000s in cars. But, now the resale value for those is just terrible. Granted, they're older cars now too, so they're not necessarily in good shape, but like that shade of green is totally gone in cars. No more dark green, no more teal. That's gone. And now you're seeing more of the kind of the earthy greens, your khakis.
In the cars?
And it depends on the car too, because Subaru is one of the ones that Subaru and Jeep are the two that still have a lot of those greens. And if you think about it, those are the two brands that their whole brand is about outdoors, getting outdoors. Yeah, no, the hunter green is really making see now this soft fern. We're looking at Stacey's computer here, and that soft fern, which is a really, really pale, almost grayish green. It's really, you can barely tell. Like, is that like beige? Is it green? Is it gray? You're not sure.
Yeah, it's got the green undertone.
Yeah, now that's a color that you're seeing kind of in your Subarus, your brands of cars that are outdoorsy kind of cars, but you don't see it across the spectrum with all of your manufacturers.
Right. But yeah, the green is coming back. And I will say, you said, the resale for those green cars are going down. And I can promise you, like the resale of your house, if you still have got the hunter green in there, even though these colors are coming back, I think they're coming back again different. That would affect that also. But yeah, I'm loving these new greens.
Somewhat, and I like them in a lot of the cars. Again, because I see so many cars all the time to do this, I have a luxury of liking certain colors. But when it comes to my personal choice of what I would choose, a lot of times that varies by which car or the type of car that I would choose. And sometimes, it depends on the exact shade of that color and that paint for the manufacturer.
Right.
Like we were talking about the neutrals before. Silver, silver and white, the most popular car colors. I think silver tends to be kind of boring. That's just not my personality for a car choice. But Lexus has a silver, and I can't remember what they call it, but it is so rich. It looks literally like liquid platinum. Wow. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's like somebody took a chunk of platinum and melted it down. It looks molten on the car.
I'll have to ask my neighbor. She works for Lexus.
Nice.
And her cars are always clean.
But yeah, it's fun with that. And so, yeah, with the greens too. I mean, I think if you're picking a green nowadays as a color for a car, not the hunter green from before,
right?
It's, it means that you like the outdoors. You're kind of a woodsy, outdoory kind of person. The only one I don't really understand is on the little Kia Souls, the little square box cars that look.
Is that the one
hamsters,
with the like? Yes,
the
that's exactly
hamsters.
what I was going to say. The chipmunks,
yes,
but they're hamsters, whatever they are.
They're dancing hamsters. Yeah, when the Soul came out, it came in a shade called Alien Green, and it is. It's alien green.
So that's like a lime.
It's not quite lime. It has too much brown underneath it to be lime.
I'm picturing like Shrek. To me, that would be like
close,
alien green.
A little browner than that.
Okay.
But really close to ogre green.
Okay.
Which is kind of fun, and it's different. And Mercedes had a color last year. They may still have it on one of their small SUVs, literally called Kryptonite Green. I give them kudos for naming it Kryptonite Green. And it's a metallic, obnoxious, like literally like metallic Incredible Hulk green.
Glow in the dark.
Yeah. It's, and I'm like, I was looking at that at the auto show and I was like, okay, that's a little interesting choice for a Mercedes SUV, which, you just think black and white and sophisticated.
Right.
That's like Kryptonite Green is what you would expect to see on, the really nice muscle cars from the 60s and 70s. So I'm not sure what Mercedes is thinking with Kryptonite Green on
Right.
there.
And that's now?
That was last year.
Oh, wow.
At the auto show. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, okay, that's a bold choice for a Mercedes.
Oh, wow.
But they say it just gets people into their showroom because everybody looks at it and does what I did and go, what the heck is that? But
do you think it might be atomic, the color you were thinking about?
For which one?
The Lexus.
It might be.
Okay.
It might. I can't remember. Unless it's something like Kryptonite Green or Alien Green.
Right, you wouldn't remember.
The exact shade might not stick in my head, especially if it's silver. But yeah, I mean, it's a really pretty color. But then, for a few years there, and we're still seeing it a little bit in the automotive industry. It's starting to taper off. It's a color that I like to call metallic pumpkin.
Okay.
It's kind of a brownish orange.
And I have seen that
and
around.
It's metallic, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So is that popular in interiors? What does that really say about you if you pick that color, other than you're not at all concerned about your resale value?
See, that goes along with the Sherwin-Williams color of the year almost, the Cavern Clay. But in the late 90s, 2000s, we had those spice colors, which were like, I actually had my laundry room that color like that. But
like
there was no metallic. Yes. Yeah. But it wasn't metallic. But yeah, I would say that color orange is happy. It's another creative color. It's warm.
Okay.
And, it's happy. And
it's a happy color.
That's why I think it goes great with your brand. You've got orange in there, not metallic, but
yeah, it's more of a tangerine kind of color.
Right.
I actually kind of had picked that because the hot pink and the tangerine, the fuchsia and tangerine, those were actually the colors for my wedding a few years ago. Because we did a Puerto Rican wedding, and those were some of the tropical colors.
Right.
Yeah, so I kind of carried that into my brand because they were
and I love it because you toned it down with adding in the secondary, like the black and the gray, so it works.
Yeah, so I use it in very small doses.
Yeah,
I think orange is good in small doses, not necessarily on a big SUV, but
right.
It has been popular.
And the same with interiors, though, like small doses.
Small doses
go very far with the orange.
Well, you said it was kind of a happy color. I think when I think of happy colors, what comes to mind is yellow.
Yeah.
And
most people.
Yeah.
Yellow smiley face.
Yellow smiley face. The emojis.
Right.
So if you're driving a yellow car, you're essentially driving an emoji.
You really are.
And that's been a popular color for sports cars because, I mean, how can you not be happy driving a sports car?
Right. I haven't seen, my father-in-law had a convertible yellow Mustang for a little bit.
Yeah.
And this was I think I had 3 kids already. So, I mean, it wasn't that long ago.
so you weren't getting into that car anytime soon.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, it wasn't that long ago. It's, been within the last 10 years.
Oh,
so,
wow.
But I haven't seen any yellow cars.
They have, from a kind of generic car color standpoint, they were very popular kind of in the early to mid 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Now you will still sometimes see them on like a Corvette.
Right. Yeah, I could see
Mustang may still have it. I haven't looked at most of my clients are not those type of people.
Right.
So I don't have a lot of clients that are saying I want a yellow car. Although it is one of the colors that's on my intake form.
Right.
Just in case you want one. But there were some, they had some, for a while, some of the small cars. Ford had a yellow, and so you could get a lot of just kind of your smaller sedans. And it's a way to make what might otherwise be a boring little car into something a little bit more fun. Obviously, the smart car came in yellow. And my opinion is, if you're going to drive something that microscopic, it needs to be the brightest color possible.
Right.
So someone will see you and not squish you.
Right. Exactly.
But that's why school buses are yellow.
Yeah.
That orangish yellow.
Yeah.
That's why the lines on our roads
are yellow.
Are that same color, because that is the single most visible color. When you're out on the road and it's foggy, it's rainy. School bus yellow. That's why it's school bus yellow. It's so it can be seen.
Right. And in interiors, exactly like I picture, yellow in a sunroom or somewhere where you picture happy in your kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah. It does make me happy. I don't think I'm going to decorate with a lot of yellow. Maybe some
accents.
I have gold. I have gold on my walls.
Right.
The majority place downstairs, the gold and red. I'm kind of still a little bit in that phase, and it's everywhere, so I'm not going to repaint everything yet.
Right.
But I think in smaller doses, again, I liked the bright yellow cars, and when I was looking at sports cars and back in the day when I was still buying sports cars, I contemplated that yellow. I did. I looked at a yellow Honda S2000, which is a great little, convertible roadster that they sadly don't make anymore. And I thought, as much as I love this right now, I'm afraid that if it sat in my garage for 4 years, like after like a year and a half, I'd be so over it.
Right, right.
So that's one of the problems with trendy colors, and that's why they're trendy, because you do get over it. And a car sitting in your garage, and depending on how long you plan to keep it, if you're leasing it, you're going to be turning it in. If it's a color you think you're going to like for 3 years, great. But if you're buying it to keep it, and you do kind of outgrow that color trend in a year and a half, you're probably going to be stuck with it, unless you have the equity to flip it. So,
and you can apply that to interiors also. That's why I personally, in my house, have gone from, I did have colors. I think what happened was people were, at least we're in our part of the country,
down here in the South.
Yeah. I mean, it was like all the new construction and everything, and then the builder white. So everybody was just like so sick of seeing that. And everybody, I mean, there was one point where every room in my house was a different color. And now I've gone back to, the basic and bringing the color in and like texture with my window treatments and bringing the color in through accessories and linens and those kind of things.
The things that are relatively inexpensive and
to
easy
replace,
to swap out when you get bored with it.
Yeah, I swap out a lot. Like
you can't
I just
do
had
that
a friend
cars.
over. No, I had a friend over, and she was like, "What are you doing to your dining room? You just did that like 3 years ago." I was like, 3 years ago?
That's 3 years ago. I'm already over it.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I had that red dining room, the deep red walls, and I still loved it. But it was kind of dark, and when I turned that dining room into an office, I wanted that open white creativity, make that creative energy flow. And
right. And I mean, your office, I love it.
I love my office too.
I want to sit down and work it.
If you haven't seen my office, people, go onto my blog at picarchick.com. I'm putting more articles out there about it, but I have a couple of pictures. So, but now, kind of finally, there are some wilder colors out there. Often people would custom paint their cars the color they want. You'll go around and you'll see, an old, like a Hummer that's painted bright pink and, has a bunch of girly stuff on it, which, I think
Jeeps, I feel like.
Jeeps, you can, Barbie had a pink Jeep, more
right.
power to her. But sometimes you'll see like purple,
metallic purple.
I
have seen that.
And that's because, and this tends to be on the muscle cars, because they've brought back the muscle cars from the 60s and 70s with the Charger and the Challenger and the Hellcats, and they are designed just like when you said with colors, when they kind of come back around in style, they come back a little differently. They've done the same thing with a lot of these muscle cars, and I love them. If you're into muscle cars, the muscle cars today have that very retro feel. They really went back to the original design cues and the body lines of the 60s and 70s, but with a modern twist and obviously with modern materials. But they brought back some of those colors. And one of them happens to be a really bright, obnoxious purple. And I kind of love it on those.
I think it's hilarious that you're saying purple with muscle cars, because in interiors and even in staging, like they would say to stay away from the purple because not many men like purple. And you want to keep everything, just neutral, whatever. And here you're telling me they're making muscle cars purple, which I think is funny.
And I haven't seen the data to know the demographics.
Right.
Because there's a lot of women into muscle cars.
That's true. It's not me. That's why I just assume when you say muscle cars that,
I wonder if it is the people that are buying the purple Chargers and Challengers, if those are the women who are into muscle cars. I mean, I know my business partner in the television show that I'm working on right now, his wife has, she's totally into the muscle cars too, and she's got a Mustang that she shows, and while the car itself is silver, she has done a lot of the accents on that car in purple. Purple's her color. So she's exactly the type of woman muscle car enthusiast that would probably give her front seat in hell to have.
So that's like one. Just shows my lack of knowledge of cars.
Honey, you drive a black minivan,
Stop! I shouldn't have said that.
To drive any car that is a bolder color like that, they had some of the smaller ones, like the little Chevy Spark, came in almost a lavender. It looked like a dang Easter egg. I mean, seriously. That says that you are confident. You have to be pretty confident in who you are and not giving, a rat's ass what other people think
Right.
to drive a car of that color. And I think that, it shows a lot of strength and a lot of confidence.
Right.
And you're not concerned with resale value because it's a very personal choice.
Exactly.
But a car is a personal choice. And I think that if you're buying a car purely for its resale value and it's not something you're going to love, like you're buying the car for you.
Exactly.
Resale value,
Exactly.
You're better off just maintaining the car well and keeping it clean and just taking good care of it, because that affects your resale value more than anything. But if you want a purple car, go get a purple car, for crying out loud.
Exactly. Cars depreciate once you drive them up a lot anyway, right?
Exactly. So it might as well be a fun color that you love.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thanks so much for being here with me today, Stacey. It's really interesting kind of testing my theories and just my humble opinions on colors, which have no scientific basis or training at all behind it. And it seems like it's confirmed with, what you know about the psychology of color.
It does.
And how that applies to cars versus interiors versus, what's in your wardrobe.
Yeah.
So,
thanks so much for having me. This was fun.
no problem. And if anybody wants to see the video I did on this a few years ago, it's on my blog at thecarchick.com, and you can also go to my YouTube site at carchick-tv.com. And Stacey, if somebody wants to get some help fixing up their home and maybe get rid of that hunter green and that burgundy that's still left over from the 90s, how do they get a hold of you and your partner, Laura?
Okay, so you can find us at www.Anderson-Cohen.com, and you can email me at Stacey@Anderson-Cohen.com. And I just wanted to clarify at the beginning that LeeAnn was referring to me as an interior designer. I do interior styling and redesign and home staging. So the difference is an interior designer is going to knock down walls. So if you need those kind of things, I have great people to refer you to.
But you don't knock down walls.
I don't knock down walls.
You just repaint them.
I repaint them and move stuff around and add things and get new fabrics and all that fun stuff.
And clear out, kind of a lot of the crap that you think looks good around your house, but when you're staging it for resale, other people do not like your little tchotchkes all over the place.
Right. So, well, it's not necessarily that. It's just the more the eye stops in a room, the smaller it's going to appear. So.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
We all learned something totally new today. Well, folks, until next time, drive safely, and whatever car color you pick, just do it safely. Bye, folks.
The Straight Shift Podcast is copyright LeeAnn Shattuck, The Car Chick, 2017. All views expressed by guest and or co-hosts are those of the guest and or co-hosts, and not necessarily those of LeeAnn Shattuck or The Car Chick.